Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning into our webinar, OTT, Launching Your Brand Over the Top. My name is Victoria Cohen, and I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at CYBA in Boston. We're especially grateful to have you with us at such an uncertain time and hope we can provide a fun, educational respite for you all over the next half hour or so. Please bear with us as we manage this production while social distancing and sharing Zoom capabilities with the rest of the world. Please use the chat function to alert us to any issues with sound. We won't be offended, we promise. Before we get started, let me cover a few housekeeping items. If you're tweeting with us, tweet using the handle @CYBA_HQ and the hashtag CYBAOTT. We will have time for questions at the end of the webinar, so please submit your questions in the chat box available on your screen. Finally, we're recording this webinar and we'll make it available to you for later playback and sharing. Now let's meet our experts. Nicolette Zanine, Director of Media Strategy. Nicolette is an industry expert in leveraging the power of digital advertising and social media to increase brand awareness and ROI. She works to strategize, implement, and analyze digital media campaigns across verticals, including consumer packaged goods, higher education, and e-commerce. She has worked in the media industry for over 6 years. Nicolette is the Executive Vice President of the IABC Phoenix Board of Directors. Thanks for joining us today, Nicolette. Nicolette, you there? All right, we'll check back in with her in a minute. Next up, we have Tom Reinstadler, Account Strategist. Tom is the glue that binds CYBA's product and commercial development teams. As an expert in digital user behavior and lead gen, he serves as a cross-vertical strategist and driver of customer success. He is a Google Premier Partner, Microsoft Advertising Partner, and a former AMA member. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Vicky, thank you so much for the intro. Nicolette, going to give you another shot to tune in real quick?
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me?
All right, we can hear you now.
Okay, we have her.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Great. Well, welcome to you both. I'm very excited to have such distinguished speakers here to enlighten us today. So let's move forward to our agenda. A quick rundown of what we'll be discussing. We'll start with a comprehensive but user-friendly and accessible definition of OTT. We'll gear you up with lots of acronyms and make sure that we really start off on the right foot. Next, we'll get into the changes in consumer viewing behaviors. As we all know, we're watching TV, and what television is sort of changing as a definition now that we have streaming and platforms like Amazon Fire and Roku. So we'll get into those trends. Then we'll get into the advantages of advertising on OTT, of which there are many, and we'll show you that they are in fact within reach if you work with the right partners. Then we actually have a fun fictional case that we'll run you through to explain some of the best practices for OT campaigns, wrap it up with some key takeaways, and then we'll take a few questions. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Nicolette to give you some of the definitions.
Definitely. So like most things in digital marketing, video is not without its acronyms and vocab. So I just wanted to cover a few of these as we get into the presentation so that we're all on the same page. So OTT stands for over the top, and really what we're talking about is the video content that is delivered through internet connection or streaming devices. So nothing that's connected to your typical cable or satellite subscriptions. And then CTV is the other big acronym that we're going to be using a lot through this presentation, and that's really talking about those smart TVs that everyone has in their house, either connected to a Roku, as Vicki was just touching on, or Apple TV. A lot of them come built in now. So it's just another device where you can stream that OTT content. And then a few other terms that we're going to be utilizing is in-stream, which is really covering the type of placement. So whether that be pre-roll, which are the ads that run before videos, this is typically the most popular placement, or mid-roll, which is very much like a commercial break on linear TV, and then post-roll, which comes at the end of the video. And then one other term that I wanted to throw out there was outstream, which is talking about the banner ads that serve video. So if you're scrolling through and digesting some content on CNN, you might see a video start playing on the right-hand side. That's what we call outstream. So it doesn't technically fall into that OTT. It's a little bit different.
Awesome. Thanks for breaking down those definitions, Nicolette. Before we get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty with OTT, I think it's also important to bring to light like why we're having this conversation today. And it's all based on trends in consumer behavior. The two ones that we really want to point out are one, a steady decrease in paid TV subscriptions by households. So what this means is the amount of households across the United States that have a traditional cable or satellite provider is actually dropping off every year by the millions. And inversely, what we're seeing is a real big bump up in the actual non-pay TV household subscriptions that we're seeing. So those are your Netflix, Hulu, anything that can be streamed via an app on your Roku, Amazon TV device. And this is really just following the cord cutter trend that we're really seeing in today's marketplace. Users want to see demand gen based video. They want to see it when they want to see it and not on the traditional linear schedules that they're used to through TV mediums.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that we're seeing, I mean, the world has changed so much in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So we're seeing an even higher increase in how people are consuming their content across OTT and CTV platforms. So Nielsen is estimating that people staying at home is leading to a 60% increase in content viewership. And I know this is definitely true as I'm analyzing my screen time. I know that I'm constantly looking for new content about the current state of the world, and the video ads are constantly appearing. Tom, are you experiencing something similar?
Yeah, all the stuff that I've been watching on my Roku the past few days while working from home, it's been trending up. And it's also key to point out that in some demographics, the changes are worse than others. Luma reports that for some age demographics, that viewership on linear TV is down as much as 40%. So as marketers, we need to be sure that we're following these trends and understanding this new landscape that is OTT, because when you talk about a 40% drop in reach, this is going to massively change how you can promote messages to the ideal customers at certain times. And we should really look into this new landscape by understanding what it's made up of, what it's now comprised of. So the important thing to point out is that right now, the main thing that's changed over the last 10 or 15 years is it's not just linear TVs that are providing video content. Everyone has a mobile device that they consume video content on. They have their laptops, their personal computers that they're absorbing this content through. And then you have TVs that are now connected to the internet themselves. So a lot of these apps that started to emerge as just laptop players are now available straight into these TVs. So as marketers, with people shifting their consumption habits and us needing to get messages in front of them to be able to promote the brands that we're working with, we need to understand where we get messages to each platform and how's the best way to do that. And OTT, as you can see here, is the avenue that actually gives us the highest reach when we're talking about the available devices we have at our disposal. It has the capability to connect to connected TVs. It's going to be present on your laptops and your mobile devices, and understanding these different ad types and these different destinations are going to be key to how we evolve our marketing plans moving forward.
Definitely. Thanks for the overview of the landscape. I think that it's really important that we spend a little bit of time looking at the OTT ecosystem. So as Tom just touched on, OTT is one of those sources to advertise via television. So looking at that, we can tap into CTV, desktop, or mobile and tablet. I know personally I watch a lot of content on my iPad, which would fall into that mobile tablet category, but a lot of households are just watching it straight through their television set. And we do that through Roku's, Apple TVs, or Amazon Fire. And then from there, we're able to tap into the publishers individually. So whether that be CNN, ESPN, Bravo, or Cartoon Network, we're able to stream directly into those networks, which is great because when we identify our core audience, when we get into a little bit more strategy further in the webinar, we'll talk about how we buy across those publishers.
Yeah, and just the pure volume of these publishers and players is, leading to key trends within this OTT ecosystem itself. In particular, connected TVs are making up 89% of how people are viewing these different types of ad contents. There's a plethora of publishers available on multiple apps on multiple devices, and we're seeing this all throughout different demographics, different verticals. So for example, adults, someone you typically associate with more associated to linear TV, they're seeing in times like now where video consumption's way up, they're seeing 8 to 10% increases in this video consumption through connected TVs, which is, 3x what we're seeing on linear TVs, which is only up, 2 or 3%. It's these fundamental changes that are super important. And as marketers, we actually get a lot of advantages in connected TV as opposed to linear TV. Do you want to kind of touch on that, Nicolette?
Yeah, definitely. I think that my favorite advantage of really, utilizing connected TV as a media source is the amount of wasted ad spend that we're able to eliminate. So when you are buying on linear TV, you're very much identifying that audience through maybe use of Nielsen reports or data like that, and then you're picking and choosing which networks you want to serve on or even which programming. Whereas when we're layering on digital targeting to our OTT or CTV campaigns, we're able to get a little bit more granular and make sure that we're eliminating that ad spend. So we can layer on the second and third party data that we're used to on maybe our programmatic buys or our paid social. And then we're also able to layer on geo targeting. So if we wanted to reach a really tight geo, we can do that through zip code targeting or addressable targeting. And then some of the other benefits too are that we're actually able to report out at a network and channel levels to see what programming is actually resonating with our audiences and which creative is doing best. And then some other metrics that we look at are the 98% completion rate. So that's huge. That surpasses anything that you would buy on YouTube or even linear TV for that matter. And then we see about a viewability at about 96%. So really high quality content that we're able to serve on here. So with that said, I think it would be great to look at an example and how we really create a strategy from top to bottom for a client. Perfect. So Tom, I'm thinking let's use a women's contemporary fashion line in Texas that is looking to expand their reach and consumer base throughout the nation. How would we start there?
Yeah, I think we can start there and we can kind of jump into it in the same way you'd want to go into any standard campaign planning. You would want to be starting at the very top and determine your goals. So as you kind of mentioned, you want to be able to expand your user base out of the state of Texas. So how do we really look to do that? We want to be strategic in the avenues and the people that we're going to message out to. So this is starting with building customer profiles, understanding these customer profiles, looking for the availability of these profiles out in the market. So say through your customer profiles, you're able to identify that a large contingent of your customers are country music fans. So let's take those same ideas with country music fans, personify them out into the market and say, we're going to expand into the American South out from Texas as our first avenue of expanding our reach. So we're going to want to first define the exact areas that we're going to target, how much we're willing to invest into this new campaign, and then the uplift that we're expected to see or the new revenue that we need to get back from this to determine that it's a good campaign for the brand moving forward. So Once you have these objectives, these guidelines, and a rough idea of who you want to target and how you want to target them, you really need to get into the nitty gritty of what you're going to display to them and where. If you want to kind of jump into that, Nicolette.
Yeah, so I would say creative is probably one of the most important pieces of this strategy. You want to make sure that after you look at your objective and who you're really trying to reach, that the creative resonates with that audience. And we can do this a few ways through A/B testing creatives for maybe the first 2 weeks of a campaign. But we definitely want to make sure that your creative is in line with your goals and it fits with the streaming regulations in terms of length. So length is something that we talk about. You want to make sure that your video is under 30 seconds, even 15-second spots work the best. And then from there, also making sure that your call to actions are super clear. So if someone's streaming their nightly programming before they go to bed, they're going to want to maybe look for you while they're watching the TV. So you want to make sure that the URL that you're trying to point them to is concise and clear so that they can go and do more research. And then you can also offer a promo code to make sure that you're tracking back the success of your campaign from TV to maybe their mobile device where they'll end up purchasing. Where OTT fits in the funnel is definitely at the top, so you want to make sure that you're making the best first impression. And then from there, we go into destinations. So like I just touched on, there's CTV, there's mobile, there's tablet, but what the nuance is when you're looking at CTV, people are not able to click through. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind when you're creating your assets that you're going to utilize for your campaign. And then you tie it together with measurement. Tom, I'll let you touch on that.
Yeah, so as Nicolette kind of touched on, you have to understand where in the funnel this campaign is going to lie. It's going to tend to be at the top in that brand awareness state, but you're also going to have some tied to your exact campaign. So, after you determine these different creative decisions, you're going to want to focus in on those KPIs. So is it a promo code that's being listed in some of the content? Do you have a web destination in there? Is it all brand awareness? This is all going to affect the individual KPIs that we're really looking to kind of hone in on, and then measure for the incremental uplift that's going to drive the business decision. So let's go back to our example. We run a campaign for this clothing brand that introduces a new customer promo code for people buying in the Tennessee area. And we are able to then, through our own marketing efforts, track the amount of promo codes that are used. But we're also looking at KPIs on the top end of the funnel, like what is the change in organic search queries that we're seeing come from that specific area? Has revenue contributions to the bottom line from this specific area increased over the course of 1 or 2 buying cycles? We're measuring all of these different signals because it's these signals that are going to give us a better idea of the cumulative return that feeding the top of the funnel through a highly visible and highly relevant audience is intended to do. So it's once you kind of put all of these things together, understand this incremental uplift, you measure this back against your initial investment. How does this align with what you as a brand or as a marketer has kind of outlined as your desired return? And then you can make decisions on how you can either optimize what you've done so far or expand this to new areas. And that's essentially the process that you want to go through when you're building out your OTT campaigns.
And Tom, I just want to touch on too that we definitely use an e-com example to walk through the best practices, but we see success across various industries such as education, travel. So we really can use OTT placements for any sort of objective and any sort of brand too.
Exactly.
Great. Well, Nicolette and Tom, thank you for walking us through something that I personally found very intimidating before today. That was really enlightening. And let's run through a few key takeaways. Even before the surge in viewing caused by our current home viewing situation, consumers, also known as cord cables, were canceling their cable subscriptions in favor of OTT. That's obviously spiked in light of recent events, but regardless, it is a trend that we expect to continue. Of the many benefits that OTT provides for marketers, some some of the key ones are the elimination of wasted ad spend and the guarantee of high completion rates. I mean, what could be better than that for a digital marketer trying to allocate spending? And finally, given our fictional example of Nicolette's fashion boutique, if like any other campaign, you'll want to follow a framework to make sure that what you're doing is yielding the results that you want. And the one that we recommend and that we've seen have most success for OTT campaigns are the objective, creative, destination measurement framework that Tom walked us through. Now, it looks like we have a few minutes and we have some very enthusiastic questions coming in. So let's take a couple of them. First up on the docket, how narrow of an audience can you target?
Nicolette, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So when we're planning OTT, we still like to keep in mind that it is best utilized as a heavy reach medium. And what I mean by that is, similar to TV, you want to make sure that your audience is of substance and a decent size so that you're able to really expand your brand awareness. So with that, we tie it back to objectives like Tom and I just covered, but we want to make sure that it's still big enough. So you don't want to get too granular of an audience. But that's something that we work on during the media planning process with you.
Great. Okay, another one. Does Cyba create video assets?
So I can kind of take that. We ourselves do not create video assets, but what we do have is a network of partners that can do one of a few things. If you're someone who has traditional media at your disposal because of past TV campaigns you've run, we have partners who are able to actually convert that video, file type so that you can now activate that across OTT channels. Or if you need to create video from scratch because you've never done it before, we have partners that can help with either created animated assets or actually help set up live shoots that are going to be able to be used across OTT channels for you moving forward.
Great. Next. Are you seeing any verticals utilize OTT more than others?
So I'll take this one, and it kind of touches on what I just said previously, but we definitely see it used across all verticals. We have a few electronic companies that utilize OTT services. We also use it across education, travel, e-com. Really, anyone can benefit from OTT.
Okay, and it looks like we have time for one more question. Can you target addressable lists through OTT?
Nicola, why don't you start on that and I'll kind of recap on it.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So I think addressable targeting through OTT is one of my favorite ways to target. So how we do that is we are able to go in and either use a list of home addresses that our clients provide for us, or we can actually curate a list based on who their target audience is. And we make sure that list is pretty sizable, but then the way we do it is we upload that list and we're actually able to target every connected device in the house with the video. So it's a great way to really hone in on that target audience and make sure that you're eliminating that wasted ad spend that we previously talked about. And Tom, I'll let you touch on how some of those lists look.
Yeah, so we're able to actually activate a widespread different type of lists. So these can be lists that you've curated through capturing emails. They can be based on phone numbers. They can even be based on first-party cookie data that we're actually able to then, graph out to a series of, home addresses, households, and then target in that manner as well.
Okay.
Awesome. And then I actually saw, Vicki, we just got a question that kind of talks about this as well, about account-based marketing via OTT. And so that's very similar to what we're talking about with the addressable list. So we are able to target specific decision makers as long as the list is a decent size. And then we can also retarget to people who have been to the site and then reach them on their CTV or their mobile device via OTT as well.
Great. So I think that that is all we have time for today. Thank you, Nicolette and Tom, for your great insights. And
Thank you, Vicki.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
yeah. Thanks also to our audience for joining us today. You can continue the conversation with us on Twitter or email us at marketing@cyba.com to get more information on our OTT offerings or any of our advertising and digital marketing solutions, or to see a live demo. So until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay well, and thanks for joining us. Bye.